Hey, Coach, appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you.
We'll get started here with Chris and then Jeff.
Morning, Nick.
Hey, Chris.
Is there any update in regards to Reed Blankenship and Kenneth Gainwell and their availability for Thursday?
No, we'll get that information to you here in a little bit.
So the special teams issues. I mean, I think you delved in a little bit what happened with the one timeout, but I think there were a couple personnel issues there, and then there were two long returns. Can you go into a little more detail about what happened with the special teams on Sunday?
Yeah, sure. We again, like I said, anytime you're calling a timeout, that starts with me. And so that, like I said on Sunday, that always starts with me. If there's a personnel subbing or anything like that, because that always starts with, pardon me, communication. As far as the couple long returns, that was, I'm never gonna say, hey, it was this player or that. There was a couple things where, again, we always got to put them in a better when the play doesn't work. We always got to put them in a better position to succeed, and then also the player in the cases have to keep their the correct fundamentals and execution. So it's always going to be on coaching first and then playing second, and we'll always look at it that way. So very similar to what I said on Sunday.
We'll go to John and then Dave.
Morning, Nick.
Hey, John.
You played Minnesota last year. It's such a drastic change from Ed to Brian, from your perspective, the offensive perspective, and Brian's. How much can you lean on last year's game, or do you look more towards New England because of Brian's?
You look at the personnel that is consistent. So you're always going to look at the personnel, but schemes are obviously very different. And so, where Coach, like I said, a ton of respect for Coach Flores, and then you look at where he's been. You look at, obviously, the games that he's coached for Minnesota, which hasn't been many, as we know, where he's been, Miami, and then also where his roots are from New England. So you look at all those things, and you're trying to get your answers that way as much as you possibly can. So yeah, there's been a lot of, we've watched a lot of tape in these 3 days from, and then obviously before these 3 days too, when we were preparing from different teams. But that's just what you do. Just not all that different than our defense last week watching, Alabama tape or Houston Texans tape for Coach O'Brien. So yeah, very similar on the offensive side of the ball this week, preparing for the Minnesota defense.
Go ahead, Dave, and then Zach.
Hey, Nick. Good morning.
Hey, Dave.
With DeAndre Swift, do you view him as a player who can kind of carry the load for a game, or is he more of a guy that has to be a piece of a rotation?
Yeah, I see him. I think he can play both of those roles. No question about it. And that's how and that's the roles. He'll be in that role sometimes where he carries the load for the game, and he'll be in the role sometimes like he was in last game. Again, we don't ever want to come out with him only having those many touches. It was just kind of how the flow went in the game, we had things called for him, but sometimes the ball doesn't go to him in a certain way, and that's just the way the defense takes it away. Now you can always get it to him by just handing it off to him. All right, but I see him being able to play any role that he's in because of the type of back and the skill set that he has.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Rube.
Hey, good morning, Nick. After the game, you referenced Devonta last year in week 1, and then he had 15 catches, obviously, the next 2 games. Was that a deliberate effort, or did it happen organically within the offense?
It just happened organically the way the offense went. We knew that was going to be the case. Again, you never want to get a guy shut out in that scenario, but we know that is it can happen because there's only one ball, and and you're trying to get all of them the ball, and it's not like when you take the touch away from Devonta and give it to Dallas, that's the bad decision, right? You want to get it to all of them. So Zach, last year it was more of a, did we try to get him one or two, make sure we get him 1 or 2 early? Of course, to make sure that they know the ball can go anywhere. But it really, it really happened organically. That 15 catches, the game he had against Washington, like that happened because again, you don't want to force anything. You want to do what the defense. You're the offense. So you always want to attack and be on a fence, but there's also you don't want to force it either. And so I think of what just happened there was that just happened naturally, but obviously always would be an emphasis to get all three of those guys the ball and DeAndre.
We'll go to Rube and then Bo.
Hey, Nick. This is, I think, your fourth short week that you've had since you got here. What have you learned from the first few as far as navigating the short week and getting your guys ready by game time?
Yeah, when you go into short weeks, first and foremost, it's about getting the guys' bodies ready to play. And I think being a little earlier in the season, it's always going to be tough for these guys to turn around and play a game on Thursday night after playing Sunday. There's no secret about that. It's really hard for them to be able to do that with the pounding that their bodies take on Sunday. And so I like the fact that this is early in the season and there's less wear and tear at least on their bodies, and they're used to practicing back-to-back days and from training camp. So I look at that as an advantage. Obviously an advantage that Minnesota has too, but I'm saying an advantage that we have over doing it later in the year. But it's always the first and foremost thing, Rube, is always about how we can get their bodies ready to go as much as we can. And we got phenomenal doctors, phenomenal trainers, phenomenal strength staff, with the guys that we have here to help us, navigate that. Again, I'm not an expert at that, and my job is to get the guys ready to play while also listening to the experts in that scenario, which is a fine line you balance as the head football coach. So, but they've been awesome and helping the guys get ready. As far as I'm not going to get into scheme or anything, Rube, or anything like that, but I think similarities of a short week are very similar to the first game of the year. It's a lot about fundamentals. It's a lot about football IQ, and it always is. It always is, but it feels just like a little extra, in those senses of these short weeks, because it's about just playing clean football, and that's what our goal is this week as well.
You have time for one more, so go ahead, Bo.
Hey, Nick, I know that Slay is always super high energy, but on a week when he has a matchup like he does this week, do you notice any difference in him in the building?
No, that's why Slay is who he is, right? And that's what you want from your captains. Shoot, that's what you want from everybody in your building, is to be the same consistency every single day, right? That doesn't mean you're like there's so many changes through the year. You're trying to stay as consistent as you possibly can. But no, I still, Slay is being Slay, and I love the energy he brings, and so and that's what's great about him, and that's why his teammates voted him a captain, is that he has this consistency. It's tough through a year to have that energy that he brings every single day, but somehow for the past 2 years, and then however in this week that we've been playing this year, he's brought that energy every day. So I don't see that changing anytime soon, and so really excited, obviously about who Slay is and that he's one of our captains and one of our key contributors on this team.